Welcome, dear learners. Today we will address a fundamental question that every business leader faces. How do we determine the price of a product? It seems like a simple question, but it does not. You might think just calculate what it's cost to make and add a little profit. But as we will discover, price is far more than just arithmetic. It is a strategic decision that defines a company's market position and long-term viability. In this session, we are going to focus on the rigorous methodologies used to set price. We will move beyond the institutions and look at the structured framework that guides these decisions. Specifically, we will examine the broad classification of pricing strategy before taking a deep understanding of cost-based price methods. By the end of this lecture, you will understand not just the formulas but the strategic logic behind them. Before we begin, let us establish what we aim to achieve today. Our learning objectives are fourfold. First, we will learn to classify the various methods of price determination into three distinct characteristics. First one is cost based, second one is competition oriented, and third one is demand oriented policies. Second, we will master the mechanics of cost based pricing, specifically the cost plus or markup method. We will learn to derive the selling price using profit margins on sales rather than just cost. Third, we will analyze target return pricing. We will understand how large organization links their pricing directly to their capital investment and desired return on investment. And finally, we will critically evaluate these methods. We will ask, when are these methods useful? What are their blind spots? It is crucial for graduate students to not only know how to calculate a price, but to understand why that method might fail in a real world market. Let us start with the landscape of pricing. If you look at the literature, pricing methods are generally grouped into three major families. The first family is cost-based pricing. Here, the internal cost of production is the anchor. The logic is internal to external. We look at labor, overhead and material and we build the price up from these. This includes methods like cost plus pricing, target return pricing, break even pricing and marginal cost pricing. Now, the second family is competition oriented pricing. Here, the anchor is the competitor. We look outward. Are we charging the same as the market leader? That is parity pricing. Are we undercutting them to gain shares? This is discount pricing. Or are we positioning ourselves as a luxury alternative? That is premium pricing. Next is third family, which is called as demand oriented pricing. This is perhaps the most sophisticated. It ignores cost and competition initially and asks what is the customer actually willing to pay. This includes strategies like skimming, penetration pricing, perceived value pricing. For today's session, we are going to focus exclusively on the first pillar, cost-based pricing, specifically looking at cost plus and target return method. So, what exactly is cost-based pricing? At its core, it is the most traditional approach to pricing. It operates on a very rational premises. A business exists to generate value in excess of its cost. Therefore, the price might rigorously account for every rupee spent on creating that product. In this method, the price fixation begins with the cost factor. We tally up labor cost, overhead, production cost and sales cost. Once we have this floor, the minimum amount we need to recover is just a margin. It sounds safe, but it ensures you don't lose money. However, one must ask, does the customer care about your cost? Usually, the answer is no. Customers cares about value. This is the inherent tension in cost-based pricing, which we will explore as we look at the first subtype, cost plus pricing. The first specific method we will examine is cost plus pricing, which is also known as full cost or markup pricing. This is the dominant pricing model in retail, construction and manufacturing. The philosophy here is simple and transparent. We know what it's cost us to make this product. We just need to add a fair profit margin on top to arrive at a price. So, it is important to note the key characteristics here. First, it is cost driven, not market driven. The primary input is internal data. We are not looking at the customer's wallet, we are looking at our own ledgers. Second, it provides cost recovery. The fundamental goal is to build a safety net. Every price quoted guarantees that the expenses are covered. Now, third, it is simple. In industries like construction or government contracting, where the final output is unique or undefined, this method provides a clear, justifiable way to bill the client. Now, let us look at the mathematics. This is where many students make a mistake. So, please pay close attention to the variables. The formula for the markup price is mu divided by 1 minus beta. Let me repeat that, mu divided by quantity 1 minus beta. What does this symbol represent? Mu is the unit cost. This is your total cost per unit, including fixed and variable cost. Beta is the desired profit margin on selling price. Why is it 1 minus beta? Think about in this way. If you want a 20% profit margin on the final price, that means the profit is 20% of the pie. Therefore, the cost must represent the remaining 80% of the pie. So, when we divide the cost by 0.80, which is 1 minus 0.20, we are mathematically inflating the cost back up to the full 100% price. This ensures that after you take a profit out, exactly enough is left to cover the cost. Let us apply this logic to a concrete example to ensure we grasp it. Imagine you are manufacturing a product and your total unit cost, let's say mu is rupees 50. You desired a profit margin of 20% on your sales. If you simply add 20% of rupees 50, which is rupees 10, your price would be rupees 60. But wait, if you sell at rupees 60 and your profit is rupees 10, your margin is only 16.6%, not 20%. You have failed your target. To get a true 20% margin on sales, we use a formula price equals 50 divided by 1 minus 0.20, which become 50 divided by 0.80. The result is 62.50. Let us verify this. If we sell at 62.50 and we take 20% of that price, what do we get? 20% of 62.50 is rupees 12.50. Subtract that profit of rupees 12.50 from the price of rupees 62.50 and we are left with rupees 50, which is exactly a cost. The maths works perfectly. This distinction between markup on cost and margin on sales is a vital for financial accuracy. Where do we see this in real world? It is everywhere. Consider the retail industry. If a clothing store buy a shirt for rupees 500, they often use a 50% margin. Using our formula, 500 divided by 0.5 results in a price of rupees 1000. This doubling of cost is so common in retail, which is called as keystone pricing. Look at construction. A contractor calculates materials and labor for a project at rupees 10 lakhs. They cannot guess the market price for a unique building. Instead, they target a 15% margin. They divide 10 lakh by 0.85 and bid roughly rupees 11.76 lakhs. This ensures that even if there are small overruns, they are protected. Is this method perfect? Far from it. Let us weigh the pros and cons. On the positive sides, it offers certainty. If your costs are covered, you will not go bankrupt. It is also perceived as fair. Both buyers and sellers understand the logic. I pay for the cost plus a reasonable fee. This makes it excellent for government contracts. However, the downsides are significant. First, it ignores market demand. What if the customer is willing to pay rupees 200 for that rupees 62 item? You have left money on the table. Conversely, what if they only want to pay rupees 50? You will sell nothing. Second, it ignores competition. A more efficient competitor might undercut you, and your rigid formula offer no defense. Most dangerously, it can discourage efficiency. If your costs go up, you simply raise the price. There is no immediate pressure to cut waste or innovate. So, to recap this first session, cost plus pricing is a defensive internal strategy. It uses the formula mu divided by 1 minus beta to ensure a specific profit margin on sales. It is best used in industries with stable cost or where the final product is customized, like construction. It guarantees survival, but it does not guarantee maximum profit because it is blind to the customer's valuation. Let us now move to more sophisticated cost-based method, that is target return pricing. While cost plus focuses on cost of a single unit, target return pricing zooms out. It looks at the entire company or the entire project. The core philosophy here changes. The question is no longer what is the cost of the waste. The question becomes, we have invested 50 crores in this factory. We need a 20% return on that capital. What price must we charge to achieve that financial goal? This steers pricing directly to return on investment, or we call ROI. It is a method used by heavy hitters, automobiles manufacturers, utility companies, and pharmaceuticals companies. How do we calculate this? The formula requires a few more steps than cost plus. First, we determine the desired total profit. This is calculated as your capital investment multiplied by your target ROI percentage. Next, we estimate the total production cost for the year. We add these two together to get the total revenue needed. Finally, we divide this huge number by the estimated sales volume. Here the formula is price per unit equal total production cost plus desired total profit divided by estimated number of units. Notice a critical risk here, the estimated number of units. If you guess your sales volume wrong, the entire price calculation collapses. This method relies heavily on accurate forecasting. Let us contextualize this with a hypothetical example of an automobile manufacturer, say Tata Motors, launching a new electric vehicle plant. Suppose the capital investment is rupees 2000 crores. The company demand a 15% ROI. First, we calculate the desired profit. 15% of 2000 crore is rupees 300 crore. This is the profit they must make. Now, assume the production cost for 50,000 vehicles is rupees 400 crores. The total revenue required is the cost 400 plus the profit 300, which equals rupees 700 crores. To find the price of one car, we divide the required revenue, that is 700 crores, by the volume 50,000 units. The result is 1,40,000 per vehicle. This price is not set by what the customer wants, it is set by what the company's investors demand. Why would a company use this method? The primary advantage is financial discipline. It focuses the company to justify its capital investments. It ensures that every rupee invested earns its keep. It creates stability and predictability for shareholders. But the risks are equally high. The biggest flaw is volume dependency. In a previous example, we assumed we would sell 50,000 cars. But what if the market only buy 30,000 because the price is too high? You will not cover your fixed cost and your ROI will plummet. Like Cost plus, this method also suffers from market blindness. It assumes the market will passively accept the price derived from your spreadsheet, which is rarely true in competitive economy. Given these risks, when is target return pricing most appropriate? It is standard in regulated industries like electricity and water. The government often allows these natural monopolies to charge a price that guarantees a fair return on their infrastructure investment, but no more. It is also used in capital intensive manufacturing and pharmaceuticals where companies sink billions into R&D or machinery and need a long term plan to recover that specific amount. And finally, in public monopolies, where competition is limited, companies have the luxury of setting a price based on their financial targets rather than market pressure. To conclude, let us place these methods side by side with value based pricing, which we will study later. Target return pricing is focused on return on investment and uses capital as its key input. It is rigid and best for capital intensive sector. Next one is cost plus pricing, which focuses on cost recovery and uses production cost as its input. It is also rigid but simpler, making it best for retail and small manufacturing. In contrast, value-based pricing focuses on customers and use market research as its input. As a student of MBA, you must recognize that while cost-based methods provide financial safety, they often lack strategic flexibility. In real world, the most successful companies often use a hybrid approach, starting with cost baseline but adjust for market reality. We have now covered the internal mathematical side of pricing. We have seen how cost and capital drive the baseline price. But what happens when a competitor drops their price or when a luxury brand charges 10 times the cost just because of its logo? In our next lecture, we will explore competition oriented and demand oriented pricing, the strategies that account for external world. It encourages you to review the numerical examples in chapter 17 before we met again. Thank you for your attention.